fucking welcome to CNN or some shit like that. It's not going to be anything like that, mate. This is a privilege, an honor. You do rad shit, and
Thank
hence
you.
why I wanted to have a conversation.
Thank you very much.
Powerlifting and weightlifting, mate. Like that's kind of cool. Kind of a weird blend. I love it. Both strength sports, obviously. Basically, you're a weightlifter that likes to bench, right?
Once upon a time, yeah, I don't really get to bench anymore.
Oh,
In 2016 and 17, I was powerlifting. So that was just squat, bench, deadlift, 5 or 6 days a week, sometimes two a days. And then I took a couple of years off and I just hit my 2 year anniversary with Olympic weightlifting back in November.
which one
So
do you prefer?
uh that's hard to say. They're different. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know that I prefer one over the other. I think that powerlifting was a lot less frustrating because it's just power. It's just strength. The Olympic weightlifting strength is a very small component of it and the rest of it is technique. So there can be days where it's so frustrating because I head into the gym thinking I'm going to have a great day and I my body feels good and I feel strong, and then I'm not paying attention to my form or something, and it can be the smallest thing that's off and it makes it a hot garbage day. So I respect them both in their different ways.
Yeah, the programming and the day-to-day training of two separate entities I find fascinating. Like the powerlifting side, I don't know how they do it. Like I always feel so beat up whenever I train like a powerlifter, especially deadlifts. I'm like, my back does not like me, but with weightlifting, it's just like I get it. It's so frustrating, and you're just like holding things in positions for longer, and you're just in there for fucking hours. Right. And then obviously you've got to put your arms above your head. Powerlifters, not so much.
Right.
Um, yeah, I love it. I love the two separate entities. I find them fascinating.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And I felt the same way when I was powerlifting. I definitely felt beat up all the time, which is why I did it for 2 years and then I left. But I also think at the time I had a great coach. He made me insanely strong, but I think he was still a new coach, kind of novice, and I think his programming beat the crap out of his athletes. And it could have been a little bit better, but I'm sure he programs fabulous nowadays.
Mm,
But yeah, I left the sport, and then same thing, like the weightlifting. I don't feel as beat up. I
mm.
do feel beat up, but I heard this great saying one time, um, that you're not supposed to feel great all the time. It's a rule of thirds.
Yep.
So a third of the time you feel great, a third of the time you feel okay, and a third of the time you feel like shit. And if you're somewhere in that realm, you're doing it right. So I feel like that holds more true with the Olympic weightlifting, but I have a phenomenal coach for my training right now.
I love it. That's something that's kept me in check for a long time is the rule of thirds.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're crazy people that like to lift things and smash our face into the wall, right? And it's like, oh, no, Alex, you can't like just destroy yourself 24/7. Like sometimes you got to take the foot off the gas and feel okay and leave with a little bit left in the tank.
Yeah. I think, yeah, you're right. It helps keep people in check.
Mm,
I think that my background in physical therapy helps keep me in check also. I can be very realistic about, like, okay, why do I feel like garbage? Is it soreness? Is it that I didn't sleep well? Is it that I need to back off today and do some, mobility work as opposed to some barbell work,
mm,
because I need the recovery. So I think that's a great tool to have in my back pocket.
mm. And honestly, I think, especially for like strength athletes, right? I think the birth of CrossFit has really helped because like sometimes you come in, you're like, in fact, I don't need to pick some heavy shit up today and just like beat myself into the ground. It's like, guys, you can kind of, there's other things we can do. We come a little bit like singular minded of all I can do is snatch clean jerk. All I can do is SBD, right? And you're like, maybe we can do something else that isn't going to necessarily hinder your performance, right? I'm not saying like go out and fucking run 10K or something like that. That's probably not going to benefit you tomorrow when you got a deadlift. But there's different things that we can be doing, right? And I think it's fascinating. It's taking that foot off the gas. It's this weird organic chess, right? Which is what training is, We're just kind of exploring, oh, maybe this is going to work. Maybe that's going to work. Yep, there's evidence behind that. Okay, great. But, oh, I feel like shit on that one. All right, I'm not going to do that again. And it's just all like sharing of knowledge. And, oh, guess what? I don't actually know what's going to happen. I'm just going to go in there. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to come back to someone who's a lot smarter than us and be like, here's kind of my results. It's like, how do you feel? It's like, shit. It's like, we probably should punt that to the other side of the room and try something else. Yeah. Oh, okay, coach, let's do that.
Yeah, I think chess is a good way to word it, because it's you're trying to make strategic moves, but sometimes you make the wrong move, and that's fine. You have to look at it and go, okay, that was not taking me in the direction I want to go, so let's not repeat that. But yeah, it's very much trial and error. And one thing that I've learned over having a few different coaches over the years, whether it was powerlifting or back in my CrossFit days or now with the Olympic weightlifting, there's so many different ways to teach the same thing. And so you have to be a malleable athlete, and you have to be a coach that can think outside the box and provide individual cueing. It might be the exact same overall cue or end goal, but you have to be able to say it in different ways to get it to resonate with the athlete that you're talking to. So it's very much like this chessboard, this tactical game, and making the right moves. Yeah.
I love it, man. I think that's what keeps me coming back. Like, it gets me out of bed in the morning. You know, it's those soft skills, and you've got to like figure it out on the dance floor. You come in with like maybe, you know, 3 pieces of paper full of, oh, I've got a bulletproof plan for today, man. I'm going to smash all my athletes and my training and whatnot. And someone comes in with a frigging curveball, right, and just flips that script upside down, was like, figure it out, coach. And you're just like, shit, okay, what do I do now? And like that kind of, right, I'm going to try this. And they just kind of look at you cross-eyed, and you're like, cool, forget about that one. Try this one. They're like, what the fuck are you talking? Are you speaking French? I'm like, cool, forget about that one as well. I was like, okay, let's go with this. And it's like, is that got better? Yeah, cool. Right. Keep going. And I love it, man. It's just this weird, like, give and take. And you learn so much from coaching people.
Well, and it's very evolving too. So a cue that works at one point in time, the athlete might outgrow that cue, and then you have to change it. Like perfect example, a while ago, I have to get rid of a lot of my powerlifting habits now that I'm an Olympic weightlifting. So instead of being so hind foot, weight in the heels, I have to be more midfoot. And I have a really hard time with that. And so for a long time, when I would, after I would get my push or my jump, when I would land toes first and then rock back to my heel. So my coach was like, all right, you lost the right to move your feet. You have to do no foot snatches and no foot clean and jerks for like 3 months. And then he was finally told me, he's like, okay, we're going to move your feet back in. And I don't want you to think about them moving, but they're going to move. And I'm like, no, you said I'm a no foot athlete. Like I'm not going to move my feet. And he's like, trust me. So I had evolved to the point where my feet were ready to do what they naturally needed to do. And I was fortunate enough to have a coach that was smart enough to kind of play me and say, hey, you're going to be no foot athlete. Just kidding. Now you're ready. So yeah, those cues, they have to evolve,
100%. And sometimes like the coach might be able to see 5 steps down the line, right? And they kind of lie to you with step number one. And you're like, no, this is all you're going to do. And then it's drip feed in the next bit, right? And you kind of come to him in your example 3 months later, and you're like, oh, well, this was the reason why. I'm not just crazy. I'm also crazy, but this was the reason why, right? And they're like, you prick. Like you're like, yeah, well, yeah, that's granted, but we got there in the end,
Yeah, coaches will keep you in the dark. It's a good trick though.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Like that little mind.
I like being a coach who can do that to somebody, but I also appreciate that my coach does it right back to me, because there's times where I don't need to know the ins and outs. The curious side of me, sure, I want to know the ins and outs, but I have a coach that helps me turn off coach mode and go into athlete mode.
Perfect.
So I don't need to know the ins and outs when I'm in athlete mode. I just need to do what I'm being asked to do. And then eventually I might get filled in on the loop of, okay, this is why we did this 3 months ago, and this is where we're at now, and this is where we're going.
Absolutely love it that you said that, because I think too too many athletes get caught up in, oh, I'm kind of coaching now. And you're like, no, 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 no. You've got the hat of an athlete on. You're either in a class, you're getting a one-on-one, you're working out, you're doing your thing, you're an athlete, you're not working. And the other way around as well, right? Like, it's like, no, no, you're a coach right now, dude. Like, it doesn't matter how much you bench or snatch or run a 5K. It doesn't matter, right? It's like, no, no, you're the coach. Forget about being an athlete. That is after you clock out, you punched your card and now you're somebody else. And it's having the ability to take those hats off and work in like in one dimension at one time. It's difficult. It really is.
It is. It adds a mental game to a physical sport.
I like that.
It does. It does. It adds a mental component because you're not just trying to work your body now, you also have to work your mind. Like, or it could go with anything too. Maybe it's not coach athlete. Maybe it's mom athlete. You can't be doing your workout and thinking about the kids. I mean, some moms can, some moms multitask
Yeah, they savage,
insane. But say it's work, can you turn work off when you're walking through the door to the gym, and whatever the trouble is, leave it at the door and go perform?
especially in strength sports, man, because you at the end of the day, we're soft objects. We might like to walk around as like these really big bollocks on the block, but we're soft, right? The floor is hard and the weights are hard. We're a soft object in between two hard objects, right? If we're thinking about something else, it's probably not gonna come off very well. So you have to be singular minded. It's that's gotta go away, and that's why I love weightlifting. Especially the snatch, right? Like you got a chance to think about one word, clean and jerk, maybe two, because obviously the clean and the jerk, right? A little bit slower. But it's like if you're thinking about anything else, you're not fully concentrated. Nah, it's not gonna happen. You might have saved a lift, but it's gonna be shit. And
Yeah.
probably the coach is gonna chuck a 1.25 kilo plate at you and tell you to do it again. You're like, fuck.
Yep. Yeah. I think there's also another mental component too. Not just being able to shift between identities, but mid lift. So there's been times where I'm approaching the bar. I'm big on visualization. So like if you watch some of my lifting videos on my Instagram, you'll either see me talking to myself, or I just posted one of a clean and jerk the other day. I didn't really realize it till I watched it, but I took my hand and I like had my finger pointed and I was pulsing my hand, and I was telling myself, I was like, wait, be patient. So there will be times where, maybe you've visualized and you've gone over the lift in your head and you're approaching the bar. And then for me, especially on snatches, I'll go to pull. And if the second I didn't load the tension off the floor, so I yanked it off the floor, or I feel like it's too far away from me, those thoughts start going right in your head. And you're like, oh shit, okay, I didn't do this right. And then all this doubt creeps in, and you have to be able to combat that mid lift, or even better, be able to just shut it down. Like, don't let those thoughts creep in. Just ride it out. It might not be perfect. Yeah, you're probably going to have to save it, and coach is going to make you do it again. But there's just so many mental components to lifting. And I think that that's definitely one of the things I love about it. It's made me a very like mentally tough person.
Fuck yeah, that's why we do it, man. Right there. Like, I think it gets a real bad rep, right? Because it's kind of like barbells and smashing things around and chalk and sweaty, and everyone's like eating Haribos and shit and paracetamol everywhere, and you're like, well, yeah, that's not wrong, but also like we care about one another, and it's the mental side that you gain from it. It's not the medals and somebody goes to the Olympics or nationals, or they win the local competition or whatever, right? It's upstairs. That's the majority of people, of folk, and I think it's so cool to see the switch with people as well. I always say like one of my favorite things to have a coach is when a mum comes in, right, and she just wants a little bit of GPP, or I just want to be able to like, move around, and I've got 3 30-minute slots in a week or something like that, right? And you kind of give them a broomstick or a PVC or a training bar or something. You can like, we're going to do something called a snatch. You're going to put this thing above your head, and they look at you like, go fuck yourself. Like, no way, son. Like, put me on like the incline treadmill or something and ask about my toddler at daycare. And I'm like, no. First of all, I don't really care about that. Second of all, let's put this above your head, right? And you see it. You see the little penny drop, and they're like, oh, I'm actually badass. Like I can do things that I once thought I couldn't do, and their confidence skyrockets. And then they walk in a gym, chest up, chin out, you know what I mean? Just like, how you doing? You're right. And I'm like, oh my God, this is rad. And all we did was kind of taught them how to do something called a snatch.
That is so true. And I think there's so much to dive into with that statement. One of my favorite things that my coach actually says to me, he says it, I think almost every single time before I go on the platform at a competition, usually before I go to take my last lift, or if we're in the gym on a training day and I'm about to take something heavy, and he can kind of see maybe not doubt, but a little bit of hesitation in me, because I usually don't hesitate. I just full send.
Mm,
Then if he sees
I
that,
love
he
it.
always walks up to me. Yeah, he'll always walk up to me with 2 fists up for a double fist bump, and he goes, "Hey, you're a bad bitch." Every time,
Yes.
and I love it. But I think that it changes it changes their confidence, especially men and women, but especially for women, when they can break that societal expectation that, we're not really meant to be strong. And I think that that's slowly starting to change, but a lot of women don't want to touch weights. They don't want to get bulky. And like, when they realize that they can have both, you can be feminine and you can be strong. You can be a mom who's nurturing and loving while being a badass.
Mm.
I think that that's really freeing for a lot of, again, men and women, but a lot of women. And like you said, they come back day 2 and they're walking in with like their chest loud and proud and tall and puffed out, and they're ready to pick things up and put them overhead, and they feel like super mom or they feel like superwoman. And I don't know. I think that it's another cool component of it.
I think they fucking should feel like that because they already are, right? Like the training aspect just helps facilitate pulling that out of them. You know, that's all we see is just like we know you're a fucking savage or a bad bitch, right? But you just don't. You're kind of walking in your shadow a little bit, and you're like, okay, cool. You're gonna do these couple things, and in a few weeks or months, years or whatever, you're gonna walk around and be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm not gonna take that shit no more. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so cool, man. And yeah, it's male and female, and I think on the male side, it helps harness like an aggressive energy. So then they can become kind and nurturing on everyday life. And for a lady, it brings them out, right? It kind of does the opposite, but then you kind of have this beautiful balanced creature out in society or whatever the fuck. I don't really know. It's smarter things than me. I'm blonde. We just pick things up, man. Come on. Like, and that's kind of it. Like, wow, good squat, knees out, chest up, good job. Give me a high five, fuck off. Like, see you tomorrow. But it's so cool because you help facilitate the growth of these individuals, and they end up creating this balance of a human being. I think we like to dabble in the extremes too much, and it's like I'm only this. You're like, well, yeah, in that environment, but then what about if you change that environment? And I think a great example of that is, femininity and lifting weights and being physically and visually strong, right? And I'm like, how does that not go hand in hand? It's like, no, you can't do that. I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense to me. Like something that is dependent on other things, whatever that is, whatever species it is, if something is dependent on other things and completely, that's not attractive. And I don't just mean romance wise, I mean just attractiveness. That's you're like, nah, that's not what Darwinism's about, guys. Maybe we should kind of be building everybody up so we're all like fucking, I don't know, harder to kill. And then we can
Yeah.
all progress forward. I'm like, I don't know. This is all anecdotally and a hypothesis, of course, and it comes from a blonde mind. So take it with a tablespoon of salt. You know what I mean? But I'm like, just build these people up and watch what they do.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it kind of circles back to a general theme of growth mindset.
Mm, mm.
And I don't mean growth in the sense of like hypertrophy, which sure that applies here, but
Nice.
no, growth mindset, meaning like you said, you don't have to be forced into one box or one identity. You can have multiple faces. You can be an athlete, you can be a mom, you can be a working mom, you could be a firefighter, whatever it is. You can have all of these different components. And like you said, something about being attractive, and not necessarily romantically or anything, but having that growth mindset. People who are willing to try something new, who are willing to be bad at something, fail at it, and keep trying, learning. That's in my book, a good human.
Yeah, like there's more layers to the book. You know, have you ever met those people and it's like, hey, I'm Alex, I'm an accountant. Sorry to
Right.
pick on the accountants, but it always comes up, right? And you're just like, okay, what else do you do? What do you mean? Like, who are you? Where are you from? Oh, I kind of passed my exams and I'm an accountant. That's it. You're like, you don't do nothing. There's nothing that you don't have a fucking theory about aliens exist or something like some crazy shit, and you're like, no, and you're like, okay, out you go. Like, people are multifaceted, we're weird. We have these crazy theories. We like to do different shit. And it's like, it's all an exploration of our life on a burning rock around another burning rock. And we take it too
Yeah.
seriously, man.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to add to that is I think that life is just too short.
Mm.
Why live in one box? Life is too short. I mean, I just had one of my former coworkers describe me the other day as an enigma. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, you're an enigma. I heard you. What do you mean? She goes, you have been riding horses for almost 20 years. You were a competitive power lifter that went to the world championships and won twice. Now you're an Olympic weightlifter shooting for 2028 Olympics. She's like, you've done kickboxing, surfing. You were a physical therapy assistant. You left and started your own business doing sports rehab and prehab work on people, and you're your own boss. You coach CrossFit. You did CrossFit. She's like, you're an enigma. And I'm like, why? Who wouldn't want to live like that? Life is too short,
That sounds like a person to me.
right?
You're
Like
like you're a human being, man. And
there is
that's
so much out there. I used to hate travel when I was younger. Last year, I'm coming up on my 1 year anniversary of being here in California, but I was from Michigan. So I moved across the country. I've
love
done
it.
more traveling in the last year than I have my entire life. But it's just I think hopefully everyone gets to a point where they realize like you only have so many days.
Mm.
Why would you not want to explore things, learn new things, grow? That's such an enriched life to me.
100%. And guess what? Maybe you can like leave a little bit more wisdom laced stories behind for somebody else, right? Because you lived that life. And I think back to council estates back home, right? And you're like, okay, sound. And people have got kids by fucking 19, 24 or whatever. You're like, mega, like I hope you're happy and that. And then you kind of scratch my head a little bit. I'm like, what are you gonna teach these kids? It's like, well, what did you do, man? It's like, because I went to school with you and you weren't that good there, man. So, like, all you did was move from that house to that house. You're on the same street, same block. Your parents did the same. Their parents and their parents did the same. Like, what the fuck are you teaching these kids? Nothing. There's no stories, man. And I'm like, okay, go out there and figure it out. Go to Thailand and become a monk or something. Like kind of live in Antarctica for a year, which I actually really want to do, man.
Really?
Yeah, no,
Antarctica, huh?
I've applied for it like 3 times.
All right.
I
I don't
Why
know how
not?
I feel about that one. But I don't know. I haven't tried. I've never been there. So I can't say no.
I do
Don't
a
know
lot of
until you
shit for the
try.
stories, man. Like, because one day we might bump into each other, right? And
Right.
it's
Might
like
be
in a
in Antarctica.
well, I did. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, if take the wrong fucking turn on the train station or something. But no, you're like, sharing a beer at the bar or something. You're like, oh, how you doing? You're like, yeah, what have you been doing? Talking shit or whatever. And you're like, when someone just comes out with some crazy ass story and you're just like, what the fuck? How did you get there? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I got in a rubber dinghy and the winds changed and I ended up in Azerbaijan and lived there for 18 years or something. It was just like, I think that's why, I understand the explorers of old, it's like, oh, what happens if we don't die? What happens if we end up coming back or going somewhere else and being able to tell stories about the motherland or what the Mayans do and like learn from them and communicate in different ways and learn from the culture and see how they live life. I think it's fascinating, man. We all got so much to learn from one another rather than focusing on the differences and causing conflict. Maybe we should learn from them and focus on the similarities and maybe create community.
Yeah, and I mean, it does something for your brain too. Just new
Mm.
experiences, learning curves, culture. It does a lot for a person. But I think it's sad. I don't think a lot of people get to experience that,
Mhm.
nor do they strive to experience that.
Well, you gotta, yeah, I think we gotta look at what are we pushing kids towards, and it's comfort, stability, guarantees, right? You're like, what is guaranteed? You're guaranteed to die, son. That's all we got. Everything else is kind of a if, but, and maybe you're lucky. So it's like, go live while you got it, mate. You might be classed as an outcast or kicked out or an enigma or something. You're like, that's pretty cool, bro. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. I mean, I remember telling, I think I've almost given my dad a heart attack so many times in my lifetime, uh, between the horseback ride. I know this is a fun fact. I was not active at all until I started riding horses when I was 9. And then I never did any sports in high school. Everyone's
Wow.
like, what sport did you play? And I'm like, I didn't.
Wow.
They're like, no, you had to do something. Gymnast, soccer, swimming, you've got big shoulders. I'm like, no, nothing. I rode horses. That was what I did. When I was 21, I got a gym membership and I didn't know how to use any of the equipment. So I just ran on the treadmill.
No
So
way.
I'm not even 10 years in. Oh, I guess I'm 31 now. I just turned 31. So I guess I'm 10 years in now to being into working out, but I wasn't competitive in anything until 2016 when I started competitive powerlifting. Um, it's just you can find things late in life and go with them. But I remember telling my dad, like, I think I gave him a heart attack when I was like, yeah, I want to start competitive lifting. And he's like, what? Why? Why is that what you pick? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, you're going to get hurt. I'm like, no, it'll be fine. And then another heart attack with like the number of piercings that I have.
Uh,
And then when
yeah.
I wanted to shave my head, he's like, really? Really? And then I wanted to move across the country. I think I almost gave him a heart attack a lot of times, but long story short, I think it always circled back to him being proud
Mm.
that despite his apprehension, I was never scared to try. I want to try this. I want to do this. And in the end, he's like, you know what, kid? You did all right. You proved me wrong. Good for you for trying.
100%, man. He's gonna be lit up with that pride, like I went home quite recently and for Christmas, and I'm a guy that buys a one-way ticket and goes to figure it out. You're like, no, no, have you not got a plan? I was like, no, bro, I got no plan. My plan is to try and take the next breath and maybe wake up in the morning, and that's kind of it, like, and I'm just kind of rocking and rolling from there and kind of doing my thing. He's like, yeah, well, the doing your thing is not a plan. I was like, let me just do my thing. They're like, what the fuck is going on? Son, I'm like, don't worry about it, man. I kind of get back and, what have you been doing? These things. Just like, fair enough. You kind of I think you've reached a stage where I don't want to say you've proved them wrong so much, or you've just done your thing for so long, and they're like, but you're not dead. You're like, no, I'm not. I'm not dead. And you're like, not in prison. No, not in prison. Broke. No, 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 not broke. And you're like, huh, okay. I guess there's
Yeah.
more ways of doing this thing. And you're like, I guess so too. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but like, I guess. And they're like, I'm fucking proud of you. And that's a really, really cool experience to have, man. Like, so glad you had that, man.
Successfully adulting.
I'm not sure about that one.
Just take it. Just take it. I mean, sure, there's times when you need to ask an adultier adult, but
Yeah,
you're still successfully adulting.
for sure. We get to go to work in sweatpants with my trackies tucked in my socks, wearing trainers. I say fuck, shit, and cunt at work. It's great.
I have sweatpants on right now, actually.
100%. I'm never in jeans, mate.
No, I have them. Um,
They look great in my wardrobe.
I think I have 2 pairs that I wear. That's like me dressing up.
Oh, 100%. Well, you want me to
Putting on
wear
actual
actual shoes?
jeans.
Like, are you crazy?
So when I worked in the outpatient physical therapy clinic, we had casual Friday, and
Oh,
my boss is like, "You can wear blue jeans on Friday." And I was like, why would I wear blue jeans? I'm like, no, I'm going to keep wearing my Lululemon joggers because they're way more comfortable. But thank you. Best
Wait,
jobs ever.
I tell people, if you ever see me wearing a suit and I'm not going to a funeral or wedding, you have the permission to belt me in the bollocks as hard as you can. Like, I'm not a suit and tie guy. I'm not gonna go sit in an office. I'm not gonna go shake hands and kiss babies. Like, I'm sorry, guys, but that's not happening. I'm
No,
gonna be
there's
there.
nothing wrong with it. For some people,
No,
that's
no,
fulfilling. But I think there's definitely people that it's not fulfilling. And I think you and I are some of those people.
a bit too
Even
much.
even working in the outpatient clinic, I was the reason I left and started my own business helping people was because in the outpatient clinic, I was so sick of the computer work and I was so sick of the documentation and fighting with insurance companies to justify like, hey, my patient needs this care because XYZ. And the insurance company's like, nah, I don't think so.
Too
I'm like,
expensive.
what are you talking about? What do you mean you don't think so? I'm
Nah, bro.
I'm the one trained on how to fix a human body. You're telling me that I'm wrong?
Mm,
So I got sick of it and I was like, you know what? I'm going to branch out, do cash pay work on people and actually be able to help them better because
100%, mate.
I didn't want to be at the computer. I wanted to be working with my hands. I wanted to be changing lives and
And you're
took
doing
a
it.
year. Yeah, it took a year and it grew, but I'm doing it and it's been fantastic.
Fucking renegade, mate, and I love it. Somebody is kind of just like, you know what? If I ever said fuck you, I meant it, and just kind of walk out, like that just lights me up so much. I'm like, look at these people go. This is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I got three questions.
Go for it.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've received?
Hmm. I don't have it in a particularly tidy quote, but I do remember a conversation when I was young with my dad where he basically told me that I was unstoppable. He was like, the only thing that will stop you in this life is yourself. And I have taken that with me in so many different aspects and
Mm,
so many different applications, whether it's gym, business, anything. So, yeah, just that you are an unstoppable force. The only thing that can stop you is yourself.
mm. That's hit me quite hard. I love that so much.
Yeah.
What about the worst piece of life advice?
Okay. I think I don't know that it was ever given to me, but I don't like the whole forgive and forget thing.
Mm,
I don't like that advice. I don't like that advice for a couple of reasons. If you forget, you're never going to learn. So
mm,
don't forget. You can forgive somebody or something, a circumstance or whatever. You can heal past it. That might not mean that you're still not hurt by it. You can still be hurt and healed. It's kind of
mm.
a strange concept, but you can. But don't forget. Always remember because that's how you continue to grow.
I would also agree. That's how it works back home. You don't forget
Yeah.
that shit. Someone does
No.
you wrong, that's it's still there. That's at the back of your head.
Yep. And it's fine.
Yeah,
You can come to terms with it, come to peace with it, be neutral about it, be
yeah, yeah,
civil about it.
100%.
But just remember.
Like you can wish them all the best in the world, no hold no grudge,
Yeah.
but you're not gonna get
But
fucked over for the second time. Come on.
don't put yourself in the same position. Yes.
Fool me once, it's shame on you. Fool me twice, that's on me, man. Come on.
Exactly.
Last question. What are the three words you tell your younger self?
3 words I would tell my younger self. Okay. It's gonna sound like a Nike promotion, but just do it. Something like that. Like just go for it. That's what I would say. Go for it.
Mm,
Because one of the things I started telling myself in my adult life is you don't know unless you try.
make sure you give it the big licks, as we
Yeah.
say back home. You know,
Just full send. Go for it.
if you're gonna fuck
Try.
something, you might as well fuck the shit out of it. You know, just
Yeah.
absolutely go. And you can
Full send.
quote that in a poetic format and whatever. But yeah, man, why not? Why the fuck not? Like, just
Yeah.
run into that brick wall and guess what? You might bounce back and be like, God damn, that went up in a fire of flames. It's all right. Get up
I
again.
mean, if I had never thought that way, I wouldn't have taken powerlifting as far as I did. I wouldn't have gone to and won the world championships twice for my weight class and federation. And now with weightlifting, I keep thinking like, man, I'm kind of old to be entering this sport, but at the same time, I'm like, why not me? Those would be my 3 words. Why not me? Why not? Why not me?
Powerful shit, man.
Yeah.
I don't know
Those
about
would be
you, but I'm ready to go fucking headbutt a wall right now.
yeah. Throw
Fired
some
up.
barbells.
Oh yeah, mate. But that's gotta work. But anyway, mate, that is, mate. It's always a pleasure. An honor and a pleasure talking to a stranger on the internet.
Yeah.
Like a thank you so much. I
Not a problem.
appreciate your perspective and experience and everything, man.
I'm glad it worked out despite the cyclone last week.
Yeah, I know. I didn't get blown away. Maybe I'm too heavy. Maybe
You're too
that's.
strong.
Oh,
Too too rooted.
I'm dense.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. Sure,
It sounds good.
boss. Thank you so much. We'll do this again
Not a
sometime,
problem. Thanks for having me on, Alex.
mate.